my mind thinks if the county has an additional amount of money, the county should utilize it instead of giving it away. But that's, I'm strictly looking on behalf of a highway department.
At the finance meeting yesterday, they were talking.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we're getting.
I can't hear you guys anymore.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. I think I hear you.
I need that information. Send that to me. I'm gonna play golf this summer, maybe. But anyway, at the finance meeting, they brought up whether they because evidently New London has thought about trying to get some of that, and I said no, that it's county money. We must have projects in the county to utilize that money, because I said I was thinking of Marion, because Marion ain't going to get enough out of there to make it worthwhile. I just assume that goes to the whole county. Yeah, but anyway, I did speak up and I did talk to Heidi, and yeah.
So Mark Korth and I and are like, well, let's request the same thing we requested the last application period, which of the highway department was awarded no ARPA funds. So I said, all right, let's resubmit our request, but more in detail. Our priority one is to try to get one of our graders replaced, and that's $473,550. The following year, our second request is to replace the wheeled excavator, the rubber tire one. That's $350,700 less the trade-in. And then that our street sweeper vac truck, that one's $408,000. So if I want to keep on a rotation plan of replacing 2 trucks every year, and then also try to fit in some of the specialty equipment, I got to put our request in. So that's what I'm doing, trying to get something of that specialty equipment replaced throughout the next couple of years. Where it goes overall, it's right around, I don't know, $1.4 million that we could use to help us out with our purchases, which is depreciation plus profit loss. So
Did those qualify under the ARPA loan?
yes,
Okay.
yep. A lot of, when we talked to Surrey out of in relation to the street sweeper truck, a lot of municipalities right now are buying street sweeper trucks, and they're selling it on the base of environmental protection, that the salts and the sands and all of that needs to get swept up and cleaned so it doesn't go into our sewers and rivers. A lot of that is the avenue they're taking from different counties on why they should justify buying them. So
You don't want that all 1 year. You're going to do it in.
well, I have to have it obligated. So I've only got this year and next year.
Yeah,
I have contracts in place. As long as I have a contract in place.
I know,
purchase it,
whatever.
we're good.
You don't want it right now, all 3 pieces.
I could use the grader. But
Well,
not all at the same time,
Yeah.
because they've asked us, and the application says, well, which years do you want certain amounts of money?
Okay.
Funding.
Okay.
So I put,
We had to break out.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
so that, I just wanted to bring that up. It's process we're working on.
Yeah. No, good.
Number 3, to accept our miscellaneous material bids to include our crushing bids. So up on the county highway department's website, you can go to our bids tab, and that bids tab will show all of our closed 2023 miscellaneous material bids. So highway committee annually approves everyone's bid. We approve all of our culvert suppliers, all of our gravel suppliers, all of our asphalt suppliers. Then throughout the year, we base off of availability of that plant or culvert and trucking costs. So I need a motion to approve our miscellaneous bids.
Can we say accept? Please, not approve.
We need a motion.
Accept them, yeah.
Okay.
So move. Nygaard moves to accept.
Moved by Jim Nygaard, second by Fred Zog. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve Helvetia scale bids.
This one would be to approve.
Yeah.
We had bid out the Helvetia scale. We received one vendor from Badger Scale. To replace that scale is $139,335. So I need a motion to approve the purchase of the scale that would get charged to our buildings and grounds account.
Have we worked with them before?
They've replaced all of our scales,
that's
and the
wonderful.
scale that we've spec'd out is matching the one that's here out of Wapaka.
And this has been good.
Correct, yes. Yeah, it's been a good scale for us. I think
The
it's,
reason I'm asking because you only got one bidder. That's why.
I think it's 12 feet wide and 30 feet long, and it can hold a fully loaded truck. The
And you've
Helvetia,
had it a couple of years here, so you know you're having trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
the Helvetia scale is not passing inspection, so they're gonna shut it down. We've talked about that.
You and Sue are gonna send out together with that stuff. Need a motion to approve the Helvetia scale bids. Is there any questions before I get that motion? Dick or anybody?
No. I approve.
Motion by Lee Muck. Second by Dick Rowan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Permission to send out RFPs for County Highway O and County Highway G. I'm not gonna read all of them.
Yep. And so annually, we ask the highway committee prior to soliciting and shopping for engineering firms for our upcoming jobs the next couple of years, what jobs are on the docket? And so in the 5-year capital improvement plan, I've got to replace that section of O from N north to State Highway 22. That one, that's probably, everyone's is the worst, but that's right up there with them. The next is for construction of County Highway N from Brosh Road to US 45. That would finish the whole N corridor. And then the other one would be County Highway G from Carper to County Highway E. That would continue the County Highway G corridor that we started way back in Iola at double G. We took it up to Asen Road, and then now Asen Road has been designed to Carper. And I'm just talking pulverize and repave.
Yeah.
And then the next section would be from Carper all the way to Highway E, just south of Big Falls. That whole segment there would be completed. So
It will be done this year then?
no, well, we'd hire,
No, we just, okay.
we first hire the engineering firm this year,
All right, so it'll be done following year.
probably 3 years.
Oh.
Probably take
okay.
us 2 or 3 years to get to that point.
We're trying to have it ready in case the money shows up from the state, right?
Always, you always have to have plans on the shelf.
Okay, so somebody asked me, when Carper G would be.
It's quite a road. I've been on it lately.
No,
It's pretty narrow too.
I don't drive that one, so I just want to know.
But it's pretty narrow too. I don't know if you'll widen it all or not.
Yep, we're gonna widen it so that we can fit a 22-foot wide asphalt mat on it. Right now, it's about 19 feet.
It's
Kind
narrow.
of cuffing and breaking.
Yeah, okay.
You'd see that one replaced next year in 2024.
I need a motion.
Also move.
Second.
Motion by Lee Muck, second by Jim Nygaard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sheriff's Department overhead invoice.
All right,
I don't have what's on. Every month we invoice the sheriff's department for working on their squads. The overhead of having the facility to work on their squads. And at the end of the year, I balance that all out of, do they still owe us more? Or they pay us too much, whatever, based on the new rate. And in 2022, they overpaid us by $2,000. So this is going to be a credit to their account of $2,088.53. So they are paying us a total overhead for 2022 of $88,000. That'll be a credit on our shop operations, which you'll see later when we go through the financial report. Is there a page to do that, or is that just one? Okay, so that completes 2022, and then the 2023 ones will be monthly again, based on the new rate, which we'll see later.
And will the rate go up or what's?
It goes up a little bit. But we'll see that how I calculated that. I'll come back. It was 104, I believe, before.
Does that include administrative fees too?
This does not, no.
Okay, moving on, any questions? 2022 financials?
Next favorite topic.
It's important. Yes. Yeah.
Just to start off with, I was questioned, and I think Casey has been in the past as well, is why we present our financial statements as we do to the county board. And I found in the chapter 83 of the state statutes, it says that the county highway commissioner shall make an annual report to the department and to the county board at its annual meeting, containing an itemized statement of all expenditures made from the county road and bridge fund during the year. So it says right here that we need to do that. So
Follow up from our finance meeting the other day.
We're gonna look at bills here.
Yeah.
Lisa doesn't want to look at them, but I do.
but that is why we go through the whole financial report, because we are required to do so by state statute. So
Charged against you, Marilyn, your duty as vice chairman.
No, my wife's checkbook is up to balance. I gotta report that.
Why you not on the committee?
Well, no, but my somebody at the committee challenged my wife on the checkbook was up to date, and I said. She spent 3 days finding 3 cents one time in our business, so
Do you have a gold green checking account?
you have money that I haven't spent
Do you
yet.
have a gold green checking account?
I don't know what a gold
You
green
get
is, so
3% on your money up to 25,000 with Premier. You have a gold green checking account.
I must have one like
I had
that, yes.
$78 interest is on my checking account. That's-
It's,
We're in all as rich as you.
it's not part of the business, but we have 3 credit cards. The first one gets paid the 10th, one gets paid the 20th, one gets paid the 30th. So I have to use the proper one at the proper date of the month. So it goes, the checkbook stays the same all the time. So, you know, when my social security comes in, her social security comes in, our IRA money comes in, it is all calculated in her mind. So she knows exactly what bill is being paid, when, how, when. And if I screw up and use a Walmart or not Walmart card instead of the Sam's Club card, I get timeout for a day and a half. So it gets serious in our house. So yes, Joe, I understand,
You do
But-
better than me.
but
I
I-
have separate money.
but I don't believe in looking for the 3 cents. When I did the fireman's checking account, I just put error correction 3 cents and kept going. But I would not spend 3 days looking for it, because when somebody at the bank reads a check, handwritten, whether it's a 5 or an 8 can be, and I'm not going to look for 3 cents. And the same way with these, if she does it wrong, I couldn't figure it out if I tried. So why would I want to sit here for 4 hours looking at her bookwork when I don't understand what she's doing? Now, maybe you do, but I don't. So that was my theory. We sat there in that meeting yes, you can look at, and I did look at it before we went to the meeting, but I ain't thinking, you got an hour and a half of meeting there. Why should we spend half an hour checking somebody's, and as she said, it's checks and balance in the bookkeeping system. So
Are you doing all about street?
just about. And then the bill is already paid. I said, I'm going to send him a check for $50.
Why?
Okay, this is just a theory. And then next week I said, I want it back. Is he going to send it back? No. So why are we then? These bills are already paid. So if we don't approve them, are we going to get our money back as a committee? No. So it's to me, it's it's good to see it, understand it. Yes. But to approve a bill that's already been paid, it to me is fascinating.
I just want to make sure Casey isn't ordering the shotgun one of them.
Right.
That's what I look at.
At the highway committee level, I think going through our invoices, which is required by state statute, tells a story of what the department's
yeah,
doing
yeah.
more than the.
Yeah.
We're telling a story of what's going on.
Right.
Just if you give a department
Yeah.
$20,000, it's an open checkbook.
Yeah.
If nobody ever looks at it, except the
Correct.
department, they can order whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, that's where the checks and balance comes beforehand. Because Casey's got, or somebody's got to put their initials on that original invoice that said they got paid, and that's the proper thing.
And for our department, our purchasing manager reviews it with our shop superintendent, and then the shop superintendent sends the payment batch. The bills get paid.
Yeah.
And the payment batch register gets reviewed with me prior to this community. So we got Scott's here, which is cool. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done. preaching. I'll get off the soapbox opera.
So moving on to how the year ended versus the weekly bills. We'll start first with the buildings and grounds operations schedule. These are not going to be presented in the order that they are in the little bound book that you'll be getting.
Yeah.
This is the order of how they're prepared. And if you want to see how numbers flow through, I would be happy to be more descriptive in that, but otherwise I'll just give you kind of an overview of totals and things like that. So here's the buildings and grounds operation, the total buildings and grounds cost for having the facilities, everything that we have within the county, all 4 shops, the salt sheds and everything is $992,279.51. Now, because the state participates in some of the maintenance repairs for the salt sheds, we can deduct that $39,000. So we have a total of $953,004.89 to allocate to the various cost pools that use the facilities based on square footage. So down on this bottom little portion here, scroll down a little bit more, would you please? It's broken out into it. Is that six different cost pools that share in that cost of buildings and grounds. So these numbers here, these 6 numbers way over on the right-hand side are numbers that you'll see later on in different schedules, but that's all based on the square footage of what that cost pool takes up. So any questions on that? It, by the way, is only about $500,000 last year.
$500.
No, $500, I'm sorry, $500.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah.
Right.
$500.
Okay, well, yeah, that's-
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's a lot different than 500,000. Okay.
I think this.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, the state participates in the cost of the salt shed, but they also pay a portion of the equipment storage, which was our largest portion of $568,000. So you take a little calculation. This is a report that I file with the state saying, how much of equipment revenues were state projects, how much were ours, and how much was related to winter. That all calculates out to a ratio of what the state will reimburse us for equipment storage. And it comes to about 32% for this year. So they'll be paying about 32% of $568,577. The rest of that's absorbed by transportation services. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, but that is a while back, we had a conversation about increasing our equipment rates over state rates. And it's been 11%. Next year, we're going to go to 13% for equipment storage and then an additional 18% for equipment purchases. So that excess revenue, that 11% in 2022 covers this equipment storage, or that's the intent.
Yeah.
And it's not, so that's why we're increasing it to 13% for next year. That's buildings and grounds. Any questions on that one?
Roughly $1 million to have our facilities. Pay our electrical bills, water bills,
Yeah.
maintenance on stuff.
That's heat too.
Heat.
It's everything to have the facilities. The people to repair it. Our own
Compared to the old facility.
twice as much.
Yeah.
It was
Well, it's
about
4 times
400,000.
as big, right?
Yeah, it was about 400,000 before. The next schedule is fuel handling, where we pull together all of the costs for having the fuel islands at each of the shops and the care and maintenance of that, the depreciation of them, and then here's that buildings and grounds allocation that was just seen on that last schedule. So a total of $162,000 for having our fuel. We recoup about 72 cents per gallon used to offset these costs. So that generated $171,000 in revenue. So we over recovered about $9,000. That's a good thing.
Yes. Is that basically from the new London shop where we have gas with the school district buses over there?
They help us out considerably.
Oh, but they don't get the full 72%. They get a little.
40 cents. They
Okay.
pay 40 cents a month, I believe.
Okay, no, I was just curious.
They don't have to pay for the fuel truck, basically, so we take that cost out to calculate for them. But we used a total of 271,000 gallons of fuel last year.
The gallons?
271,000.
Yeah.
185.
Oh, no, I just.
That's breakdown of what was what? Like,
No,
okay, that's
I
total.
just,
That's both diesel and gas.
Yes. You'll see that $9,000 credit in shop operations in a little bit. This one. So this shop operations is kind of a detailed schedule, but it shows our labor and benefits for it's work orders, but it's working on our equipment. So a total of 547,000. We charge that back to equipment. So that's why it zeroes out here. And same with the materials for those repairs of about $1.6 million. Those costs go back to the piece of equipment. So we'll see that in equipment operations. So that's why it shows zero here. This indirect labor is the labor for Mark, for the facility superintendent, for our shop foreman, for one of the account clerks, and somebody else was for. Oh,
Larry.
the parts specialist is in there. And then the fringe benefits associated with that labor. Shop supplies, the depreciation of shop equipment is in there. Different things. Here's the buildings and grounds thing from the previous schedule. Here's the $88,000 from the sheriff's department. That's a credit back to our shop operations because they paid part of it. Here's the $9,000 credit of fuel handling. Then we sell waste products, culverts and different scrap metal and things like that we find. So that gave us another credit of $5,000. So that's decreasing our shop operations. Annually, we do inventory adjustments. Here we had a minimal amount of adjustments, so that's a credit to our account as well.
It's fantastic.
So shop operations to be allocated is 656,000. Divide that by the labor up above. It makes our new shop overhead 119.8% versus 104 that was last year. So it did go up slightly. That's distributed here on Casey's truck. $887 goes towards administration or Casey's truck, and the rest to our equipment.
I do believe one of the reasons it's up from the year before is because we were one mechanic less the year before. Now we're back where we need to be, right? Or why would it have went up? What's a significant thing that would have made our shop rate go up?
Well, the labor last year was higher, actually, $40,000 it's higher, or $50,000 higher. Parts were about $200,000 less.
The cost of employees alone, just because increase in wages.
Yeah.
And the year prior, our head was higher from the sheriff's department, so that would have decreased it.
Okay.
But we had a higher inventory adjustment. It's hard to go from year to year to it. So that gets distributed, and then this next one, this is a very detailed and tiny schedule to see, and it's about 10 pages long. It's the first 10 pages of your financial booklet when you get it, but we're just gonna scroll on down here to the last page because that's the one that everybody cares about anyways.
Inventory of all of our equipment and how each piece of equipment functioned throughout the year financially.
And I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at it, but I did.
I
include
did.
it Because.
Told me I had to.
So detailed that. Chris wanted you guys to see it before.
So
We have just shy of 400 pieces of equipment to track.
yeah, so it's kind of detailed,
Yeah.
but this is the last page of it. And here is a subtotal of all of our equipment right here, this line here. And then we get reimbursed a winter readiness from the state. They give us money for having 9 pieces of equipment ready for a storm.
Good.
And there's only 9 in there because some of them have split routes, so I can't get the full amount for them. So I just say 9.
Split between the state and the county.
Yes, but they gave us almost $44,000 to have equipment ready for their roads. And then we get reimbursed for snow fencing as well. So those are revenues that come in and offset some of our equipment operations. So that gives us a total cost of our equipment of $4.1 million, a revenue of $3.9 million. So we lost $139,651.45 on equipment operations. Largely due to this column right here, the fuel column. Last year was $978,547. The year prior, I don't have it. Year prior was about $650,000. So it increased $300,000. So that is the largest reason of this loss of the loss.
So even though we increased our equipment rates from 8% to 11%,
That's not reflected here. This
No.
is at state rates.
okay,
So that excess
This-
revenue isn't on
the state basically screwed us by
the,
not setting their rate high enough.
the state rates are not keeping up with the increase of fuel.
I'm gonna call Erie and tell them.
Well, for 2023 rates, a side note, for 2023 rates. Well, all the time, state counties submit all of their costs. There's a big calculation that goes through and it's 5-year average. And quarterly, we submit our fuel costs. Well, at the end of 2022, the state recognized that they weren't keeping up. So that, and because of fuel, so they included a 2% increase of rates due to fuel costs, one time only. So we'll see if that helps us catch up.
So the additional rates, the additional amount above the state rate is excess revenue, which is not reflected in here.
Correct.
So you're not even seeing our excess revenue from our extra charges.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, this is at state rate only.
Yeah. Okay,
But overall, state rates for 2023 increased 8% and then plus that 2%. So about 10% higher for state rate next year. Or 2023, sorry, on next year's report.
but if our fuel went up,
If the fuel keeps increasing, we're probably still gonna have some issues. But anyway,
kind of stabilizing somewhat, but
hopefully.
yeah, okay.
So hopefully that turns around, but it's not as bad as it could have been because of that fuels.
Yeah.
Usage is important. We continue using and recording the usage properly of our equipment. That helps a lot. Switching gears completely into pit and quarry operations has nothing to do really with equipment, but this is making the sand and salt production and transferring it from shop to shop. That cost was about $207,000. Our sales of sand salt brought in $212,000, so we had an over recovery of $5,500. Last year, we had a loss of $163,000. That was largely due to the Collier's pit operations.
right.
Because we closed it.
We closed it, so we didn't spend all that money restoring the Collier pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand here.
What are you seeing in the price of sand right now, Casey? What's going on?
And up slightly, wasn't it 3 and now it's 4.5?
We're seeing that Fulks is now becoming more competitive with salt sand than, what's the contractor? Than
Lycon.
Lycon. Yeah. So I can show you the
So
price.
you're purchasing some from folks now?
We're probably gonna purchase from Fulks because they were just less.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, but
In the material bids.
that'd be in material bids. We can review that. Yep. This year compared to last year for sand prices.
So the next schedule then is bituminous operations, which is patch mix and asphalt. All reflected here. Here's the buildings and grounds allocation from that first schedule. So the cost of asphalt is $2,073,000, and through the sale of asphalt, we recouped $2,054,000. So we have a loss of about $18,500. I'm gonna do this a little bit differently next year and take the patch costs out of there and put it in towards. Doesn't really matter here, but it'll go in our analysis of material later. Rather than on this schedule. And if I had done that this time, we would have come out about even, so.
The reason our patching is gonna get taken out is because we do truck that patching material from typically our R-Not plant out of American Asphalt, and then trucking costs skyrocketed, and that it costs a lot to bring that material here. It's only like 400 tons a year we bring in for patching, but that hurt us.
So that should really go towards the patch pricing and shouldn't have affected the asphalt pricing. So we're gonna try that next year and see what happens.
Makes sense, so.
And our asphalt pricing last year, we did the actual price of asphalt plus 2% to help recover some of that. So knowing that our labor costs are going up, equipment costs are going up, we're gonna try the actual price of asphalt plus 3%. Is that what we decided?
3% on top of the price. So if you pull up to a plant and your truck gets loaded and they charge you, as an example, $50 a ton, we deliver it to a township, we're gonna add 3% to that load. Just to help cover our bituminous cost pool expenses.
Yeah.
And then, as we mentioned, the patch prices are going up as well. It was $90 a ton last year. It's going to $180 a ton this year to help recover some of those. Field small tools account, you guys actually saw this a meeting or two ago in a little bit different format. I have to submit all of our field costs or our small tool costs to the state, and they approve a rate of what I include on all of the invoices. So using these same numbers in that earlier schedule, it generated a 2.1% rate, small tools rate that will be on all of our invoices going forward versus 7% from last year. And that is a schedule that you guys had to approve a meeting or two ago. So similar to fringe benefits, same information presented a little bit differently from the last time. Totaling all of our costs for having employees, basically the benefits that they get. So the time off that they get, and then social security, workers' comp, longevity, safety shoes, things like that, for a total of $2.2 million. We have a slight over recovery from last year, but we're still making up from a few years ago. So the rate is going up slightly for next year. It was 63.66%, and it's going to 63.73. So just slightly.
On here, you'll notice military, $78.48. And so if an employee goes to active duty training or their 2-week training, the county has a policy that will pay them the wages they would have made if they were working here. So that would be the difference, right?
Yes.
In fringe benefits. As if they were working with us and not in military training. So we make them whole, so they don't lose money by going to their 2-week training.
That's
Our store didn't do that for me, damn.
so that's the same information that you have seen in a previous meeting, just presented a little bit differently, but numbers did not change. The next 3 pages that we're going to look at are related to highway administration, and that is the admin fee that's on all of the invoices that we've talked about. We are under recovering on that, so we might want to take a look at that in the future of making up for that. But in administration includes Casey's time that he charges to admin, which is not 100% of your time. Charge some to projects, things when he's specifically working on a project. And then the other labor is myself, Sue, and one of the account clerks, and drug and alcohol screening was in this other labor. Travel expenses is mostly like you and Greg and Hank when you go to patrol super or go to your road schools and things like that is what most of that is.
Yeah, if I go to any training outside the county, I turn in a receipt for lunch that day outside the county, right?
Yes, and your
Hotel
yeah, and your commissioner training and things like that.
in the Dells, sure.
That all goes there. Committee per diem and expenses is all related to the 5 of you guys for coming to our meetings and helping us out with everything. This is Casey's truck. This $887 was from that overhead schedule, if you remember that from a few pages ago. And then all of the other costs of his truck. It's fully depreciated, so there's no depreciation cost in there.
I got new tires and they had to put a bolt in my side. Oh,
What would I pay for mine?
Here's the buildings and grounds allocation from that earlier schedule. The depreciation of our office equipment is a little bit higher here because we did dispose of some equipment when we moved here, and I missed that when we moved, so it's taken care of here. Auditing services, that's an annual fee that we get charged from the courthouse for having the company come in and do their physicals. They lay out all of our books and look through everything, so that's our portion of that auditing fee. So $436,000 for basically having an office and the administrative work done in that office. But included in administration expenses is having radios for all of the equipment and our general public liability insurance. DOT reimburses us some of this, but not all of it, but that's included in that 4% that we have on our invoices to help us recover that.
Is cell phones in there too?
Yes.
Is that what you-
Is
is
included.
that what you said you're gonna have to increase that
Yes.
4%?
I think so.
What are you thinking?
I didn't get that far, but
Okay.
I can only charge what the state comes up with to the state. So that was the 4 point, I don't know, I want to say it's 6%, 4.6%, I'm not sure. on the state, but we can charge anything we want to anybody else.
But we've been charging the same out to everybody else we're getting from the state. I think that makes sense.
So we might have to take a look at that, but the state does also participate in patrol supervision. That's Greg and Hank's time. They reimburse us 45%, and that includes their cell phones, and Casey's cell phone is in this patrol supervision. And then the on-call is having foreman on-call on weekends and nights and things like that. So that's what that is there. So all of those items are all covered in that admin on invoices. And then we have this local road improvement program. This is not a program year, so there was minimal expenses there. And then this is the 50-50 bridge reimbursement program. So we had a few projects there, 7 projects.
Annually, we put $53,000 in the account. 2022, we only took 32,800 out.
So off the top of my head, I want to say that account is at about 160-ish thousand, but we have some petitions coming in for this year
Any
that will use
township can
it,
apply for it too.
except for 3. There's 3 of them that don't.
Except Clintonville and Fremont and Waiwega.
And then we record a change in vested sick leave, and that is mostly because on our books, it shows, I don't know how to explain it. Like, as we're working, we get vacation, sick leave, PTO, things like that in a bank. And when we leave, if we get reimbursed whatever's left in that bank. Well, at the beginning of the year, I have it written here somewhere, but at the beginning of the year, say it was $190,000. We had 13 people leave. So they used up their part, and then we got 13 new people at a lower rate. So there was a change in that bank of money of it decreased $102,000, mostly because our employees are paid at a lower rate than the employees that left. So I don't know if I explained that correctly, but that's.
Well, when people leave, they take their fringe benefits along what they're, yeah, so, yeah. Yeah.
So because our employees are newer,
Yeah.
that's going down. Next schedule is the brine operations. The cost of having the brine facilities at each of the shops. And we did increase that slightly because we are continuing. Because we added a tank. We added the tanks.
You make the brine here and truck it there, right? They don't make the brines in the other places?
We truck it all there. So our tank was in New London last year.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I know I have it here.
And the tanks that are going at the Larrabee shop are being purchased by the state this year.
So we won't have the depreciation of the state purchased ones, but this is depreciation of what we have
Purchased.
Yeah. And then here's the buildings and grounds allocation from earlier. So having the brine operations was $37,000 through the sale of brine, which was
220,000 gallons last year.
yes.
That was to Marion. Is that-
Our brine was countywide. Wherever our brine left our shop that we produced, we put down 220,000 gallons.
Or didn't you sell some?
We sold some to the city of Marion. We sell some to the city of Wapaka.
Are they,
That's
Is it-
included.
It's on,
are there more interest in it now? Or
I would say no more than what they can put on their pickup trucks because they don't have the tank capacity to store it in bulk at their
do
facilities.
they just have small little things?
They'll come with a truck and then they'll put it down right away out of that
I'll
truck.
probably get. Put 250 gallons in the back of the truck.
300, yeah, yep.
Will any townships ever do that, or any little villages like Scandinavia, or you know what I'm saying? Or don't they have the people to do it?
Well, that just goes on our trucks.
Yeah.
So if-
No, a few of them do more. The school districts are doing it. Like Iola will come and get some from our Helvetia shop one day in Brine, but it's not real popular yet
They're running in certain spots in their roads that are terrible.
on their parking lots. Yeah.
Because you have to have the equipment to put the brine down. So if you don't have a vehicle to put it on, you know,
Very few do in their small
Yeah,
tanks.
so, yeah.
Is there
It's an
any way-
investment
is
to
there
do.
any way we could be promoting that to get some income? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the second question would be is if the state bought the tanks for the Larrabee shop, would you have to reimburse the state if you were making brine with?
Well, because the state does participate in this, I have to get their approval for the rate that we charge them for the brine.
Is that Bryan and Clintonville goes on Highway 45, that's a state road, plus the county roads, but I mean, but you gotta have it there for Highway 45, and you don't wanna trek it all the way from Wapaka or New London. So that's why you got that Bryan up there.
That's a US highway.
I'm just looking at how we come up with some more revenue.
So we
Yeah,
recouped 15 cents per gallon last year of brine, and that's how we got the $63,000 in revenue, but we over recovered according to this map. I submit this to the state at the end of the year and do some calculations and some jumping through hoops and whatnot. But it basically says that we should have a credit of 7 cents per gallon going forward. Now, we protested with the state and said, wait, you made us do this. You didn't buy our stuff. We had to buy it. So that's what this depreciation here is. And we have to have the facilities to store it. So at least you're going to pay us for those two expenses.
yeah.
So the argument ensued. We ended up winning, and we can now charge 9 cents a gallon to the state going forward.
That's a reflection of us purchasing our own brine equipment by building this new highway facility versus asking the state, like many counties did, to purchase the brine equipment for them, because now we can set the rate on what we want to generate for profit. So. Yep.
Do we have a calculation on how much it costs us to make a gallon of brine? I assume you do.
13 cents.
13 cents.
But because we over recovered the last couple of years, that gave us a 20 cent per gallon credit, giving us a negative 7 cents.
Good.
Is what I'm supposed to charge.
But we're like, no,
Yeah.
Well, that's not
no.
happening. So,
that's if you own the equipment.
right. So
We own it.
yeah, so the state is gonna be paying 9 cents a gallon.
Someday you're gonna have to replace all that equipment. Wears out. Even if it is plastic. Okay,
So at least I got it something instead of nothing. So.
Yeah.
Maybe not exactly what we need, but it helps. And then we get to the easier schedules of the financial booklet, what people paid us through the year. So with the state, beginning of the year, they owed us $684,000. We worked with we had $2.7 million of expenditures. They reimbursed us almost the full amount. So they still owe us $702,000 at the end of the year on the routine maintenance and winter. We didn't do any work with the Department of Natural Resources this year. The vet's home did get some salt, I believe, the brine. They paid us right away for that, so that's taken care of. And then here is the performance-based maintenance. And after I had Sue scan these in, I realized that I made a slight error. We actually purchased more equipment here. So this $211,000 is actually $197,340. So when you get the actual printed booklet, that will be corrected. But the one that you have right now shows this error.
And the equipment that we purchased that makes the difference is we had replaced the one that broke, right, for the crack filling machine.
And a spray bar.
And it,
So and a spray bar.
okay.
That was for so. And then breaking down further, this is the work that we did with the state. And actually, if you have a pen, maybe we can find signing page for me while we continue on. This is broken down category of what we did with the state and then our PBM projects. Is that $2.7 million with the state. Here's what we did with the towns. It is up slightly, $167,000 more this year than last year, what the towns owe us. Still catch up, that's no worries there. This is the schedule of the work that we did on our own highways. Question for you guys, would you like to see this in project number order as I have it shown here, or would you prefer it to be alphabetical by highway? Before I publish, does it matter to anyone?
Alphabetically.
Okay, then I'll have to make that change. For
It's
It's easy to do. I just didn't want to print everything out if you guys preferred it one way or the other, and that's
Yeah.
an easy change, so.
Whichever way you do it, you're the boss.
Makes no difference to me. I do it either way.
So we did 5 million, we
Yeah,
had $5 million worth of projects last year.
yes,
5.1 we invested in our county system.
yes. Some of that was paid through LRIP and different reimbursements that we get, so that didn't all come out of our purse, but that's the amount of work that we did. Similarly, this is the maintenance work that we did on our own projects. It also includes. It includes, this number here includes the excess revenue that we earned. And the buildings and grounds allocation as an expense.
So adding construction plus maintenance, we invested a little over 8.4 million in our county trunk system this year. Million of it's plowing.
And then I know that you guys are gonna be as disappointed as I am that this is the last page, but this talks about what the work we did with other county departments. Sheriff's Department always looks high because we do their reserves on their squads, so it always looks a little bit higher than what it really is, but that helps us with our maintenance, our shop people. And then school district, again, New London always looks high because of their fuel purchases. But they're all right on target with what they owe us, so no concerns there. That is the last. Casey and I were talking about how to present this at the county board level. You know, like we just did, page by page, or I was trying to come up with some fancy little, I don't know, Jim, see my fancy little PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if we want to do something.
This would be way over everybody's head.
And I kind of did a little draft. It includes some pretty little charts and things like that I thought maybe might jazz it up a little bit more and be more interesting than what I just showed you.
I think they're all gonna get the booklet and when they'll page through it on their own, but for our presentation at Finance Committee in April, we'll give that, which will be the same thing we give to the county board in May.
And it'll be the same data, which I just shared with all of you. This may be presented a little more color
And quicker.
is the hope. We'll work on that next week while you're gone and we'll look at it.
You understand it all, right, Dick?
Sure.
Well, that's why I'm trying to.
No, you do a good job, but it's a lot of things to,
Get better.
yeah, no, that's a lot of things to, put in.
File and-
Yeah,
and I-
well, you're looking at the whole papers you got there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just do it for one department, so I feel for Heidi having to do it for everyone.
Yeah.
He does the same thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate your listening and sorry if I bored you to death.
No, I enjoyed this. I'm learning little by little each time you present things, it sticks my mind a little bit better,
I
but
try to throw little tidbits in there that
yeah,
might.
but it's still a lot to absorb when you're, you know. It's not like buying a loaf of bread and selling a loaf of
That's
bread.
number 8, Casey. Order to county to convey highway right of way title to state.
All right, so earlier in February, the state of Wisconsin ordered Wapaka County to release any interest in relation to the project DJ 4737 parcel 4 adjacent to State Highway 54 Auto Road in the town of Muckwa, pursuant to a state statute 84.093B. Whereas Wisconsin Department of Transportation has proposed a quit claim deed to Wapaka County for the purpose of conveying any interest Wapaka County has in the affected property to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, and whereas the affected land's legal description is as follows. Parcel 4, Edward M. Butler and Clara E. Butler, southeast of the Northeast Section 6, Town 22 North, Range 14 East, Volume 184, page 648, document number 188996, and whereas County Board of Supervisors approval is required for the conveyance to occur pursuant to the state of Wisconsin's order. Now therefore be it resolved that Wapaka County Board of Supervisors authorizes Chair Keppen and County Clerk Opperman to execute a quit claim deed as proposed by the state of Wisconsin to convey this property as ordered. So let's go into more detail. If you're familiar with State Highway 54 and Otto Road, which is not that part, no. Right there, that you got green, right there is an old wayside.
The old wayside,
So,
okay.
1 second, because I'm not sharing.
Oh, by the round barn.
Yes.
Okay.
You go down that side road, you can find.
Do you see it now, Jim?
Yep, I see it now. Yep.
So right now, the state of Wisconsin wants to put that in Wisconsin surplus and sell it However, a strip of land along State Highway 54, referenced as parcel 4, shows that the county at one time back in the 1930s had an interest in that land. And so the DOT is saying, hey, county, we want you to pass a resolution at Highway Committee to move to your county board to release any interests you may have in that strip of land for whatever reason in the 1930s back to the state. So that's what we're doing. We have no business having interest in it. So that's all we're doing. It's just a formal process.
How big a strip of land is that?
Um,
Like, is it like a road ditch or like a?
it actually entails this parcel right here, this road right of way,
Okay, it's the road right away.
and then a strip of land here. This was all once part of that parcel 4. It's road ditch. It's just road ditch.
So the road got changed slightly at one time
At one point,
and then
the
now,
county had interests in it and it never got conveyed to the state. So they want to convey it to the state before they start selling
You know, and
the
we-
wayside.
they're selling that wayside, that the yellow lines through it, okay.
Yeah,
And what is that, 5 acres, 20 acres?
just left click on it one
All
time
right,
and then it should pop up. More info. It is 3.5 acres. The state's gonna sell that wayside, or at least put it on Wisconsin surplus.
they don't have an interest buyer, do they?
They do not have an interested buyer yet because they haven't put it on surplus until everyone releases their interests in it. Currently, the Marion Wayside is on the Wisconsin surplus.
yep, it is.
are they getting rid of them all over? There's one over on 45 by Sugar Bush too, that's been closed for years.
Yep, they're gonna try getting rid of that one too. Yep.
Somebody finally cleaned up the brush in there a little bit.
Oh, do they? I haven't done
Yeah,
that.
it's not 100%, but it was looking really shabby for a long time. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I need a approval from the Highway Committee to pass this on to the County Board of Supervisors.
We need a
I'll make
motion.
a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Jim Nygaard made the motion, Fred Zohan seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Fred left at 10:20, get a doctor call coming up, well, and he had to be home to take on the special phone.
And I just want to make, this is specifically resolution number 45, because that was not put in the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay.
Special vote 45, add to it, please.
I did.
Thank you.
You gotta get my name in the books, I get paid.
Put down twice. I'll catch it.
Supervisors report, conferences, on and on and on.
Anyone want to report on the meetings they attended? Okay,
I said enough yesterday to plan
we'll move on to personnel. Right now, we have 2 offers that are pending. They have not accepted yet, but we went through interviews and so forth for equipment operator 2 positions. And there's 3 vacancies and there's, I believe, 2 offers on the table. So we'll wait to see how they.
So 2 offers not accepted yet, and there are 3 vacancies, so we have 1 left.
1 left.
If they accept.
If they accept, correct. We're actually now overstaffed in the equipment operator 2 group, and we're understaffed in the operator 1s. There's still some vacancies up there, but overall, we're looking for 1 more person if these 2 that we've offered accept. We're doing all right, honestly, coming out of winter.
No, what's a 1 and what's 2? So,
Operator 2 is our lower skill set,
Okay.
entry level truck driver.
Yeah.
Operator 1s are more of our finished paver, finished grader, excavator, heavy equipment. One of our bridge inspectors is an operator 1.
They're gonna be training these operator 2s to learn to use more equipment, or we haven't felt there was enough of that in the past.
okay, no, I just want to keep reminding myself which is 1 and which is 2. Well, 1 is better than 2. I guess that's the easiest way to remember.
It's $21 an hour.
22.43
$43
versus 21 an hour. Get paid $1.43 an hour more.
Okay. That's entry level.
But 2 starts at $21.
Yeah.
And that's been a problem. That's why it's been offered and people say I can't do it for that.
Yeah, well,
Because I got the CDL.
especially if you worked someplace already, you most likely pass that point.
And we did lose an employee last week. Friday was his last day. to his previous employer who counter offered for $7 an hour more than what he's making here. So
Hey, I don't do.
Justin Resch, so he went back to his previous employer. So good for him.
Oh, it's $300 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next thing I have is project updates, which is my commissioner's report. If you want to grab that, we'll just page through it rather quickly and then we'll kind of round up with a financial where we're at for this year. So just as a reminder, next week I'll be on vacation. There will be some chainsaw training that takes place. We'll be at the county board meeting then March 21st. We've got a lot of different trainings scheduled for the next month or so. Our crews are going to start their 10-hour days on March 27th. We're also going to have our spring municipal appreciation meeting that Tuesday, March 28th.
We were gonna attend that, what time of the?
6 o'clock.
Well, it's 6. Yeah.
But I made a note like.
6 o'clock, March 28th. And then our next highway committee meeting will be March 30th, of what we'll put in a road tour.
Yeah, so you can show us what's happening.
Okay. Kind of went through everything for HR stuff, traffic safety committee. I did put a little bit of a note that there's a county highway K speed reduction request that's been pondered. That constituent will show up here March 30th, talk about speed limits and trees. So with that,
With, you know. With that K, that isn't very much, that isn't a very big area there, is it?
exactly. So when you turn off of Tower Road, they're requesting a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit till you hit Constance Road. There's that
Was it
couple.
100 yards?
Oh, from here to the telephone pole.
Yes,
That's what I'm thinking.
yeah. And the landowner,
That makes no sense.
the landowner that lives right there is the one requesting it, which is the same one that doesn't want us actively participating in roadside vegetation clearing as well. So we actually removed it from the project site yesterday, stopped in the construction zone and started taking pictures of our guys working. And now we got the sheriff on alert for that. So, yeah. Which brings a lot to the table knowledge wise, but
Yeah, yeah.
they'll be here next week. I'm sorry, they'll be here March 30th. It sounds like, so. Good intentions from everyone. The next thing I have is highway department activities. Our shop is busy. We've ordered a Larrabee tanks. The pump is here. We still do not have the tanks in sight yet. We're doing some floor repairs in New London. Field operations, a lot of trainings and seminars, pesticide, chainsaw, paver training. We just came back from Diggers Hotline training, MSHA training, and Nina is scheduled in May. Our crews are crack filling, we're cutting trees. The road limits went on yesterday. And then as far as administrative and engineering, there's just a ton of things that Kyle and I are pounding out, which are unusual things, such as developing the conservation easement for the mitigation bank around Lakeview Manor. And
Are you hearing anything on?
yes, it's very, very close to being approved. Right now, I would say, for what the DNR just responded back to me on, is that this summer we'll be able to sell credits. But remember initially we thought maybe March, now it's this summer, so. We are meeting with Stuart on that Monday. I come back from spring break at 10 a.m. March 20th, I believe. Bowman Court, that one is another discussion that will come up. That's kind of what we refer to as a no-brainer to convey those lands to the town of Caledonia off of County H. Maybe on our trip, we can stop there. Other than that, our construction projects are quiet as far as work being performed on it. It is tough trying to figure out how I'm going to get a lot of these small box culverts replaced in these projects that have asphalt replacement. So that might be one thing that comes up this summer is how can I formulate a plan to replace the County Q box culvert by Larson and the other one up by Double V on Q. So
On your bottom one in the front, need to respond, I know, on snowball.
need to respond to Iowa. Yeah,
Oh, you're not a problem. Oh,
yeah.
are you guys all on the same page? Lee?
Yeah, well, we gotta know prior to having the equipment and manpower, you just don't, we don't have excess plowing ability, so it's gotta be done in long range to the future. That's the way it's gotta look at.
One thing on County S, in front of the Marion Body Works area, the city did bid out a sewer contractor. I believe DeGroot was the lowest bid. So I contacted the city of Marion. If they do start the 1st of April, when do they want the county to put the detour up? So right now, I had to work with the state on detouring traffic on that little section of 110 south of Marion to send them around. So a lot of that type of stuff is going on administrative wise that is overhead to a construction project.
When are we looking at Highway A from geographic purposes in that area? That question came from Cindy.
That's a good question because that was the corridor that we were going to address when we get done with County Highway N. And so we're gonna
It's
start
a couple years out.
engineering in 25,
So it's
27 before we actually touch it.
okay.
So 4 years yet before we'd reconstruct it. The ones that would take place before it are County Highway 00 between E and 110, another section of N, and then also the Marion Body Works area. So,
Okay, just so I got an answer for
yeah.
it. And I know Jim asked some questions about that. Could come forward, right, Jim, on that, on what they're gonna be doing out at the Brooks Farm, right?
What they're proposing, yeah, so this Vanguard or the successor to Vanguard, I guess now, they want to get going ASAP. But they've got some hoops to jump through yet, so. Yeah, we'll see
You
what
heard
happens.
us say we're County A is 4 years out.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of the 3 segments of A, I have it broken into 3 sections. We would start with the north section first, but not for 4 years. And the reason I'd start with the north section is because it feeds all the traffic that congregates off of Double E and comes north. So that's the one we would pick first. And then the
Right.
second section would take us to Saxville Road. And then the third section would take us down to the Winnebago line. All in all, it's 6.56 miles overall, all of A. First section is 2.6 miles.
Yeah, it's just maybe a couple of years ago, there was a zoning, somebody's right on that corner, Saxville, that sharp corner, that house got sold off. That house in 2 acres. And yeah, it would be nice to make that corner a little easier too, but it is what it is. Now it's yeah, that house is pretty close to the road on that inside of that curve.
Kyle and I did meet with Todd Muck at his house to do a preliminary discussion on what to do with Norman Muck's house at the intersection of Double O and Swamp Road. And at this point, we're just gonna go through the fair market analysis study to see what it's valued at. But that one's right on the road as well for a
Yeah.
construction project coming up next year. As far as our financials for this year, whatever one you bring up, we'll go through our revenues and expenses on equipment. So at the end of February, we were actually above last year of $53,414. Next financial report, which we're gonna be up because we've followed along, so we're constantly busy with our trucks. As far as what we've spent on our budget, we've got 30% spent on our winter maintenance budget, or 55% on the winter maintenance, 30% overall. A lot of that's labor for tree cutting on projects that are going to have asphalt replacements coming up. Our construction projects, we've never really even touched them, 1%. And that 1% is a reflection of the engineers that charged for design services versus work we performed on them. It's a breakdown of where we've been spending our money this year. Yeah, woody vegetation, you can see we've only got 23% of our budget remaining. We've spent $285,000 in woody vegetation. Cutting on Q, cutting on E. Highway U. Keeps us moving proactively, I believe, in our clearing and grubbing efforts. So that concludes our meeting.
Any questions from anybody?
I just got a
ahead.
quick question now on some of these box culverts. I know that is it a 20-foot cutoff where the state will chip in, and that if it's 20 or under, that it's all on us? Is that Do I understand that right?
You're correct. You go underneath the bridge and the narrowest point under that bridge where water can pass has to be 20 feet or greater. If it's 19 feet, 11 inches, we pay for it on our own. And I have a lot of those in the county. There's a lot within the entire state of Wisconsin. So these commissioners are advocating to the state saying you should have a program for those types of structures as well. Because a 19-foot, 11-inch structure costs the same pretty much as a 20-foot structure. But one has grants and one doesn't. So it's tough for a lot of our counties now to afford that on their own with all the other stuff.
Well, yeah, and I'm thinking that DOT, and when you fly these plans past everybody, they're gonna say replace it with something just a little bigger, and you end up with a 20-foot anyway.
And then at that point, it'll get put in the inspection program, which then qualifies it for grant reimbursement. But we don't have to inspect or record anything less than 20 feet. However, we started this program in Wapaka County called Inspecting Your C Structures, which are culverts. And we actually now have a program for inspecting these box culverts where we never used to before. And boy, are we finding some crap that was never routinely inspected. So our C structures are being inspected every 2 years now. We're not alone. The state's doing that more often.
So would it be, I don't mind making a few phone calls. If you wanna pass on who might be somebody I could call and that would be effective and not a waste of time. Otherwise, I'll give Joan Ballweg a call and
Representative Peterson also sits on our transportation board at the state level.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on the western side of the county. I have called this Katrina Shanklin from Stevens Point a couple times too. Partly with this Ron Brooks thing, the part of the compost, the solids portion of this will probably be sold and handled through Old Castle and Amherst Junction. So I don't necessarily agree with all her politics, but she is somebody who really gets on the ball to answer questions quick. So I do have to give her credit for that. So.
Another one at the federal level is Representative Gallagher has been reaching out to commissioners, asking how he could help. And I've met with him, with Calumet County's commissioner. I know he's dealing with the whole China thing right now, but at this point, he's one that likes hearing stuff in his office.
Good. Okay. Okay. Well, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So
It's not on our agenda, but our rate per mile for plowing for the future. Address that sometime to generate more revenue to, like these townships now that we're participating in and
Service agreements.
our service agreement.
$1 mile or
$1,000.
$1,000.
It's $1,000 a mile right now.
It has to go up.
And that includes materials. What I'd like to do is $1,000 per mile and exclude materials.
Yeah,
Okay, then is that gonna be addressed in our town board meeting on the 28th?
That'd be a good.
That'd be a good place to bring it up.
And this is what we're gonna have to do.
So any new service agreements that get signed from here on out is gonna state it that way.
Jim, now it's 6 o'clock. We're all to be at that town meeting on the 28th here, dinner.
might not be here.
If you're here and we might be playing baseball. That's
Yeah.
okay.
6 o'clock in the evening.
6 o'clock, town board meeting, town people with her, talking about our contracts and things. I think it's important that we're here in the group.
Okay.
And then our next meeting will be the 30th at 9 AM.
Unless we want to start at 8 o'clock on the 30th because we're doing a road tour, get us another earlier jump on it.
Don't matter to me.
Is that all right?
It's fine with
If I'm
me.
here, that's fine.
March 30th at 8 AM. Let's move that one to 8. It gives us a little earlier jump for the road tour.
And I'm not trying to throw a curve at you, but I know our guys are coming back for 10-hour days on the 27th. What is in the plan that they will be doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
Because when we had 10-hour days, we usually have a lot of equipment out, a lot of stuff going on. Is there gonna be, that's why I'm asking that question.
What are we gonna be doing on 10-hour days? Yeah, crack filling projects. We haven't done much of crack filling at
Okay.
all this year.
So we got plenty of work there.
Mhm,
Okay, that's,
yes.
and when we're crack filling, you put some kind of vehicles out ahead and behind for safety.
It's an 8-man crew to crack fill.
Do we ever put any squads out there running with lights on or any of that? I know we got a ton of them sitting out there.
On 10 we have, but never on a rural road,
You know,
no.
Some safety, we're never safe enough. I get, that's where I'm coming from.
Mhm.
Do some fun, okay? Whatever you think is, I know, but I mean, I always worry that someday it's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah. It will, just a matter of
I mean,
when.
everybody's texting. It's crazy how I get followed on the road some days. I'm saying, oh my goodness, that vehicle's 10 feet behind me. That King Road is 34 miles an hour and I mean, they think it's 50, you know, it's scares me.
Yep.
But anyway,
Tonight I'm meeting with the town of Royalton to propose them replacing the bridge on Bugulky Road. I've drafted a whole thing and we're submitting it tonight, so I'll be at the town of Royalton meeting tonight.
where's Bugatti Road? Where is it?
Bugulky is off of, you go up here on 22, like you're heading towards Manawa. And right, it's by Banky's Bridge, right just south of Banky's Bridge.
Okay.
Bugulky branches off to the west.
Yep.
That's if they submit it, I'm pretty sure they're gonna get a $1.3 million bridge, 100% paid for. So I had to wait for Chair Rowan to come back from vacation. He'll be there tonight, so. I'm skipping wrestling practice and going to the town meeting.
Now, where's the difference between the 80% and the 100% on bridge?
Right now, local rural bridges like on town roads or low traffic roads are all eligible for 100%. If you're on a minor collector or a major collector or a higher velocity road, those ones right now are still in the 80-20 program. So I just applied for a bridge on Highway E on Bow and Arrow Drive. The traffic volumes are higher. They still left that one at an 80-20. The whole incentive now is to get these local rural non-travel bridges replaced. And no one really wants to take the initiative to apply for them. So they're saying 100%, we want applications to come in. So that's why they incentivize them at 100
The bridge and the culvert are different.
based off of how wide it is underneath where the water passes. A bridge is 20 feet and greater, a culvert's less than 20 feet
So that one on Coeur d'Alene then,
is a bridge.
that's a bridge.
Yep.
So that can be 100%.
The one right off of Knightsky Road is
Yeah.
one way down by.
right. That's, yeah.
The one way down by C, that one's too narrow. That one doesn't qualify as a bridge.
Yeah.
That's a culvert. They'll have to replace that on their dime and there's no grant program to help them replace that. So that's the issue that
Yeah.
we're battling.
Yeah.
Is there any favoritism if it's considered a trout stream?
Actually, no, they use the width requirement as the cutoff line.
Okay. Okay. Because I can think of about 4 of them not too far from me that are on Peterson Creek. Yeah, oh, okay.
Okay, all right. No, I gotta stop it. I go to DuPont's.
Any other questions before I get a motion to adjourn?
I have a follow-up to Heidi's concern of, she's having that study done of accounting practices and policies.
Yeah.
We're having a kickoff phone call this afternoon, so I'll find out more what that's gonna entail, how much we're involved in that, what she has in mind, what this company is gonna do. I don't really know what's all entailed in that study that she's
Yeah.
From
kind
Philadelphia.
of pushing, yes. So hopefully today I'll get some more information and know where we're going. That's.
Yeah, for you, that's gonna be quite interesting.
So we're gonna meet at 8 AM on the tour on the 30th, just so you all know.
Yep. If
So
I'm
I'll
here,
make sure I tell Fred.
if I'm here.
If you're here.
Might get a grandson's gonna play baseball in Georgia, maybe. I don't know until 4 days before he's on the bubble, whether he can make the team or not make the team and yeah. Yeah, okay.